Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are here with Audrey Hillman. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great, thank you. We can start with you just telling us a bit about yourself.
So, my name is Audrey. I'm 18. I'm going to university. I'm starting university in the fall at MacEwan for psychology, and I Olympic weightlift.
Wow, awesome. So what got you into Olympic weightlifting?
So my mom started it off she did CrossFit, and then she got introduced to it through CrossFit and through some of her friends. And so then I had done gymnastics for like 6 years prior, and then my mom, I was kind of on the verge of quitting, and she was like, I think you should try weightlifting and just kind of see if you enjoy it. So I had tried it one summer, like before I had quit, and I really liked it. So then the year after, when I did decide to quit gymnastics, I then went right into weightlifting and then just kind of stuck with it because I really like it.
So you left gymnastics and then kind of got into weightlifting.
Yeah.
How do you think, did any of those skills kind of like cross of like things you could take from gymnastics, or is it totally different?
Yeah, no, the strength alone was very, very helpful. And there are quite a few gymnasts who then pursue weightlifting after. And I think just being able to take corrections and stuff, that really helped, and that made the transition just a bit easier. But definitely like the conditioning that you do in gymnastics and all the working out, I think really made the transition easier into weightlifting.
So you've always been an athlete?
Yeah. I started competing. I started doing gymnastics competitively when I was 6, and I did it till I was around 12. And then got into weightlifting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Olympic weightlifting for folks who may not know?
So Olympic weightlifting is 2 barbell movements or 2 barbell lifts. So the first one is snatch, and snatch is a singular like motion where you have like a wide grip, and it's one motion from the floor all the way to overhead, and then you stand up. And then clean and jerk is a 2-part lift. The first part is your hands are more narrow or like shoulder width apart. You bring it up to your shoulders and squat, it's kind of like a front squat, and then you stand it up. And then the jerk portion is getting it over your head. So yeah, the snatch and clean and jerk, and that's what you compete. And then when you do compete, you get 3 attempts at each lift. And so you start with snatches, everyone starts with snatches, you get 3 attempts, and then you move on to clean and jerks and get 3 attempts at your clean and jerk.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's that process like of having, only 3 opportunities to try something?
It's definitely stressful. I think it's nice compared to gymnastics because you get like 1 beam routine, 1 floor routine. So I think it's a bit nice because, you've kind of got that one, like you got those 3 attempts. So, but it is still like, not a lot of attempts, so it's stressful, and especially if you mess up, because if you don't make any of the lifts, you bomb out and you don't get to compete, or just none of it counts. But no, it's definitely nice to kind of have 3 attempts, because you might just mess up on one but then nail the next one. So yeah.
You kind of mentioned a bit of what the training looks like, but what would you say like training looks like before a competition?
So before a competition, so we kind of get put on programs depending on like what you need to focus on. So for me, leg strength is a big focus. And so I'll be on so right now I'm on a squat program. So it kind of just depends. And we do like tapering before competitions and stuff. So you get like a bit lighter. So like you'll do your last max out session on like the Monday, and then on like the Tuesday, you'll go a bit lighter, and then the Wednesday or Thursday, you go even lighter, and then the Friday's like super light, and then you compete Saturday. So it's kind of like, kind of go up and down, just kind of depending, get your body ready, because you don't want to max out the day before your comp, because you could either get injured or you could be super tired for the next day. So it's just trying to avoid any, stress or injury or anything.
Yes, yeah. Have that been something you've had to deal with, of like injury, or like how do you keep coming back and continue to like be motivated to move forward?
So I think it's really hard sometimes, so I really struggle sometimes with like getting injured, and it's something that I'm still trying to work on, like, it's okay that it's like a part of weightlifting, and especially because I train 5 times a week, and like my training sessions are like 2.5 hours, like 2 hours to 2.5 hours long. I do a lot of competing, so it's like normal to get injured, not normal, but it's like expected to sometimes get injured or have setbacks, and it's just kind of accepting that that does happen in weightlifting and any sports, and it's just like remembering that you do overcome it at some point, and you do work up to those max outs and those PRs, but it just takes time, and there's no fast tracking recovery, which is also something that I need to work on. But yeah.
Maxing out and PR. So max out being like the max weight that you can lift
Yeah,
up.
it's basically the same thing. So PR, like, or I guess, yeah, PR is when you're going for a personal record, or a PB,
okay,
like
I
a
see.
personal best.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah, just maxing out is basically trying to hit those numbers, or trying to go and hit PRs or PBs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What is your like max lift?
So we do it all in kilos. I'm not sure what it is in pounds, but my best snatch is 72 kilos, and my best clean and jerk is 83 kilos.
That's amazing. I feel like that's a lot, because I know kilos are heavier than pounds.
Yeah, it's times 2.2.
Yeah,
So
can't do that. That's a lot though.
How are the international competitions? What are those like?
Those are amazing. They're awesome. Like, I had so much fun because it was in Cuba. And so I went, because I qualified in November, and then the competition wasn't until March. So I had quite a bit of time to like just train and get stronger before competing against like some of the best girls in South America. And yeah, they're definitely, like, it was a great competition, and it was my best competition I've ever had. Like, I PR'd, and I both my lifts, and so it was amazing. But there are definitely things that I had to overcome, because there was a power outage. Like, there's a lot of power outages that happen in Cuba, and so there was one happening while I was competing. And it was like it was in between my 2 last attempts for clean and jerk. So I had just clean and jerked 80, and then the power went out, and instead of them going like manually, they kind of just stopped the competition completely, which I've never had happen before. So I was like, what the? And so you kind of have to go, like, I had to go into the back room, and I had to keep myself warm because the power outage lasted like 15 minutes.
Oh, no.
So I had to like clean and jerk in the back to keep myself warm enough to then go and lift. But then it's kind of like the question of like, okay, so I can't lift something too heavy in the back, because if I fail it, that's mentally like hard, because then I have to go and lift something even heavier. And I can't go too light, because then if I lift something too light in the back and then go out onto the platform, and it feels like super, super heavy. So it's also finding the balance in the back. But that's where like the coaches come in, and where they totally help with that, and they know, and they've done all these international comps. Mm-hmm. So they're used to it. But yeah, it's just staying calm and just like trusting the coaches. That's the biggest thing, is just they know what they're doing. So yeah.
And speaking of coaches, what do you think makes a good coach?
I think what makes a good coach is just having a good relationship with the athletes, and like getting to know them one-on-one, and and just creating that like relationship between the athletes. And yeah, like, my coach is awesome, and he's one of my friends, and yeah, he just puts us first, and he puts like our mental health first instead of like competing and injuries and stuff. Like, it's all about like how you feel and how your body's feeling, because like at the end of the day, you've only got one body. So it's important to prioritize that over competitions and PRs and whatever. So yeah.
What has been the most memorable moment for you in your journey so far?
I'd say so far my most memorable moment was Ontario. I think my favorite memory was probably going to Cuba and like meeting all the other athletes from different countries and stuff. But my most memorable was probably qualifying in Ontario, and just because I've tried previously to qualify internationally and it just hasn't worked, or I hadn't made the lifts. And so this was the first time where like all my hard work had finally like paid off, and I was able to then do what I wanted to do this year. So I'd say that was definitely my most memorable moment.
What sort of exercises and other things would you recommend, I guess, for athletes wanting to pursue this, or things that you do in your own training and time?
Yeah, because so my warm up, I think another important part is like your warm up. Like you gotta make sure everything's warm and everything's stretched out. But the other stuff I do, so yeah, we do like for the first like hour, it's like Olympic weightlifting where it's like the snatches and the clean and jerks, and that's either like you're just doing that or you're doing a variation or a complex of it. But we also do, or like I do a bunch of squats, so that helps with a bunch of the leg strength. And we do, they're called like either a snatch pull or a clean pull, and that's basically a deadlift but with like a shrug at the end, because that's the movement you do before catching it onto your shoulders. So you do a bunch of pulls. And then at the end, so it's like the last like 20 or like 15 to 20 minutes of your workout is accessory work. And that I find super, like I've only started doing it this year, like accessory work at the end. And I feel like made a big difference. And basically it's like a mini workout where it's like they take, what's it called? Like you do like movements or like a workout that targets like specific muscle groups, and which will help with like, so like you'll do biceps or you'll do a glute workout or you'll do like back extensions and just like stuff that targets like one specific muscle that'll help with like, keeping more tension when you're squatting and stuff like that. So there's a lot of accessory work that comes with it as well that I think is really beneficial.
What would you say is the best part of weightlifting?
The best part of weightlifting, I'd say my favorite part of weightlifting are hitting PRs, because that's when like all your hard work has paid off, and it's like it's so rewarding to finally just hit, because you have so many ups and downs in weightlifting, but it's like the ups which is like why you continue doing it. So when you finally hit those PRs and you finally hit those like big numbers, like that's probably the most rewarding and like my favorite part, especially if you do it in competition, because then it's like you're able to show, because you just have to accept that you're not going to have good like competitions. But my favorite part of weightlifting is when you can PR in competitions, and that's the best part for me.
And what's the biggest challenge of it?
I think the mental piece of when I get injured, because this year I've had a lot of ups, but I've also been injured. Like after Cuba, it kind of went downhill a little bit, just in terms of I did injure my elbow a little bit in Cuba, and then I had to compete 2 weeks later at provincials to try and qualify for Worlds, because I did try and do that this year. But I did injure my elbow at provincials, and I had to pull out of the competition. So I was dealing with that elbow injury for a couple months, and then right after that I had a back injury that lasted like a month, and then I went to nationals, which was actually 2 weekends ago, and my back has been good because I've been going to Cairo and doing all that stuff. And then I was on my last clean and jerk, and it was a super heavy lift, and it just kind of spat me out, but my thumb got stuck, and so I hurt my thumb. So I've just had like these kind of back-to-back injuries, and so I'd say that's the hardest part of weightlifting, is just like training through those injuries, because sometimes I just want to be like, you know what, I'll just take time off, which when you're injured, there's always stuff you can do in the gym. It's just like getting up and going. Because you're not always going to be able to max out, which I'm like, I need to accept at some point that I do just need to recover. But no, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm just recovering and trying to heal from all these injuries. Yeah. But no, that's definitely the hardest part.
Is there maybe a myth or a misconception you'd say about weightlifting?
I'd say the biggest one for me is like, there's like this idea that like, to be a weightlifter, you have to be like a big person and you have to be like super big and strong. And so there's been quite a few instances where I've been like, oh yeah, I Olympic weightlift, and then it's like comments like, oh, you don't look like a weightlifter, or it's like, you're like, I'm shocked that you're a weightlifter, like you're super small and stuff like that. But I don't think people realize like weight divisions and stuff. Like there's a reason there's weight divisions, and it's not just about the biggest and strongest person. It's definitely like you do need those other skills. And yeah, so I think that's a myth, is just like you have to be big and strong, which I don't think is the case at all because obviously I'm not. So yeah, that's definitely a big one for me.
And then last question for you. It doesn't have to be specific to weightlifting or anything, but what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
I'd probably say, it's from my mom. I'd probably say comparison is the thief of joy, because so my mom used to tell me that like during gymnastics and stuff, and then I think it's really just carried on into weightlifting, because you could get last place, but at the end of the day, if you PR both your lifts, like that's still a win. Mm-hmm. But then if you just start comparing yourself, then yeah, you're gonna get swallowed up in the whole like, oh, I'm not good enough and blah blah blah. So I think that's definitely something, especially with school too, like that I've said, my mom said it a lot in school too, like don't compare grades and whatever. Like if you've studied hard for a test, then just be happy with that. So no, I'd say comparison is the thief of joy is probably my favorite thing I've been told. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.